All right. Welcome back, friends, to the ecoChristian podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Cray Haynes. We're exploring what it means to be Christian on planet Earth. And as I'm recording this, it's almost the end of May. So we're getting ready to park this bus for the summer, friends. This season of the show has been so good, and we've covered some ground. And if you've missed something, now's a great opportunity to kind of catch up and share an episode with a friend and rewind and all the things. And really, though, I want to know what's hitting home for you on the show so far, maybe what's not hitting home for you. What topics would you like us to talk about here? Who would you like to see me chat with? I want to hear from you. I need to hear from you. And so email me, hit me on social media, ecochristianpodcast@gmail.com, all the things. So yeah, and before you know it, we're going to be back for another season of this goodness in just a few months with new conversations and guests. But today, friends, I'm going to cut right to it, because on here for you to serenade you into summer with me today is our musical guest. I've always wanted to say that. Our musical guest, Susan Shann. Give it up. Y'all, I'm so excited for you to meet my new friend, Susan. And we basically collided with each other at the Nashville Earthy Festival several weeks ago, like you do. And I had a booth there with some Arasha folks, and she came by and we just got to talking. And she has been discovering my audiobook, and I've been discovering her music. And then while we were talking, we realized that I'm like preaching at her church in a few weeks, and it just kind of all collided, and it was really great. And so fast forward to recently, when Susan came by for a hang, this episode we recorded together is that event. And so it's pretty raw, which is actually one of the things I think is great about this episode that I'm sharing with you now. And we had a wonderful dialogue together. And honestly, it was like hours long, and I was really sad because I had to sort of make it fit for this show. But yeah, we'll probably do more of these in the future. But I'm excited for you to get to hear some of her music today. Susan has done her homework. Not only is she an amazing artist and studied musician, but she is involved with environmental activism and community organizing. She's earned a permaculture design certificate, founded Transition Nashville, and established, quote, Earth Revolution, a local access environmental program. She's completed a course in systems thinking, earned a certificate as a facilitator for the beautiful teachings of The Work That Reconnects. She attended Lipscomb University here in town at the Institute for Sustainable Practice, came away with a Master's of Science in Sustainability. And so, as you can imagine, she is just a treasure trove of knowledge that I just had the honor of hanging out with. She has created great music, as you'll hear, earning a publishing contract with Grammy Award-winning producer Bill Vorndick, with whom she released her third full-length album a few years back, Rhythm of the Road. She's released a critically acclaimed acoustic collection, Reckless Abandon, and had several cuts by independent artists. She has won first place in the International Song Contest of Musicians United to Protect Bristol Bay, and just so much more. I could go on, but it's all on her webpage in the show notes for you below. So while Susan describes herself as, quote, not religious, really we may come at the environmental work from a little different spiritual on-ramps, but she is just such a gift, and we have such a great conversation, and her music, I believe, embodies that posture of kinship and healing that we have so much to learn from as God's people. So yeah, here we go, friends.
So by the time I took the course, he had the chicken area, you know.
Yeah.
He had some chickens and roosters, and he had the aquaponics thing.
Yeah.
And they were doing a lot of composting, and they were also doing vermiculture. You know, he was doing that kind of adjacent to where they had the aquaponics thing, and I guess they were using some of the fish waste, you know.
Yeah, I love that.
To generate their compost. And yeah, we planted some trees and bushes on a couple different hillsides. We were looking at the idea of, contouring the land very intentionally to create swales and berms, and how do you move the water, efficiently, companion planting.
Oh, I love that.
All these different elements of permaculture and principles, like stacking functions and, making things work together and keeping it all integrated, and so that you don't, so that you can minimize external inputs or eliminate them altogether.
Yeah.
And really going back to the idea of waste and how that ties in. That was, when I studied permaculture, and it introduces, as Bill Mollison, the founder of permaculture, did, this idea that in nature there is no waste. And most people would say, well, yeah, I mean, but when you first start looking at that, you realize, wow, yeah, in the natural world, everything is food, quote unquote, for another system. Everything is used somehow. Because becomes nourishment, becomes something that can be metabolized by another plant or another animal.
Yeah.
And we as humans, as part of that system, and there again, we run into a conflict between religions that want to separate us from all that, as opposed to belief systems that see us as very much embedded in that.
Yeah.
And to be able to learn from that, that's what's so brilliant about permaculture and these system sciences, is it's more about learning from nature, learning from our very origins, our very essence, about, well, how does the natural world work? How can we replicate that in a permanent culture in human settlements, whether it's in our agricultural, regenerating the soil. So now you have this wonderful whole movement of regenerative agriculture that has sprung from that. And natural building, and biomimicry is a branch of science that looks at what certain plants and animals do, and then seeks to figure out how we can replicate that without the use of harmful chemicals.
Totally. I think any technology of the quote-unquote future that we're going to be able to authentically and genuinely say is advancement or progress is going to be technology that finally has decided it's not here to overcome these natural limitations, quote unquote, of the earth, but to lift up and support and bolster and get out of the way for these natural solutions, of what the earth already wants to do. The earth is already trying to do. And so, how can we support those systems?
Right. How can we align with the existing ways and principles, and how can we better understand those? And that's, again, for me, this is so core, because in permaculture, which is essentially systems thinking as applied to certain things, right? Like growing plants and growing food crops and things. You see these relationships and you see synergy, where the whole is always greater than the sum of its parts. When these different things come together in relationship, in very specific relationship, the soil and different companion plants or whatever, that the system is enhanced. That there is this creation of something more than. And so if we align ourselves with nature, I just think that's where the potential comes in. There's no telling what we could create and when we think of abundance and wealth and prosperity, if we redefine that within the natural realm, rather than focusing on monetary, which is a human system, which by definition limits our ability to understand true wealth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because true wealth can't be purchased by money. True wealth has to be experienced. And so if we can learn how to align ourselves with that beautiful creation capacity of the living world, there's simply no telling what we could create.
Yeah.
And maybe all these things that we experience in our world now, the waste and the suffering and the inequities and the haves and the have-nots and all these crazy things that we experience, doesn't need to be that way. I really people think that's sort of pie in the sky idealistic, but I've never thought it was idealistic. I've always thought, no, we could achieve that.
Yeah.
But we would have to take seriously what we're learning, and actually apply it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it just feels like such a gargantuan task today because obviously in light of the last couple hundred years, we've just had, everything has changed with the Industrial Revolution and everything. And so, but if you look at obviously the longer arc of the earth and human history and, and it's this is, there is a different way to exist within creation. And I think, that's an easy kind of blanket statement to say, I suppose. But, because I think it's going to be, I think the future will be kind of a both and where we've, I don't think it's going backwards.
No.
But I think forwards will be willing to, quote unquote, go back and retrieve the things that we were doing well.
Right.
Local, when every community had a direct access to agriculture and our food and more. We had a knowledge of the plants that were growing around us. We had a knowledge of what our watershed, and these sorts of things that were just, we didn't give 2 cents of really thought about generations ago because it was just what it meant to be human on planet Earth at that point. And now we've got all these separations in the way because we've quote unquote advanced, and so what would it be like to retrieve these good things that we had going on while also moving toward the new things. But anyway.
So okay, all right, this is interesting, because I talk to my husband about this stuff a lot, about this idea of holding space objectively for what's possible. And in that is this recognition that many of us have come to understand community is essential, right?
Yeah.
That within a community you have different people with different knowledge bases, different skill sets, and that you need all of that to make a whole that is functional. You need the knowledge of the farmer and the knowledge of the physician and the knowledge, and then you combine human intelligence and things we understand in our unique individual subjective experience, in our learning, with technology. Like we can't undo the Industrial Revolution. We can't just go back in time. This whole idea of going back in time to a happier time.
Right.
We've been progressing forward. Some of that quote unquote progress hasn't felt like progress, and in fact has taken us backward for sure. And there's aspects of technology that are very harmful and very frightening and very disturbing. But there's also, we wouldn't understand we wouldn't be able to evolve our own understanding of systems and stuff without the advancement of telescopes and and microscopes and advances in science and technology that has. So is there a marriage, is there a sweet spot in the midst of all these different facets of what's been created? But then, where we could find a place of flourishing.
Absolutely.
And not just for humans, of course, because that's not possible. We can't flourish without supporting the flourishing of the world that sustains us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is all. I mean, we're off the deep end here, but I love it. But but this is all part of what it means that we are a people and a creation who are growing, who are becoming, and quote unquote evolving. And we were like this, and now we're like that. We did do these things, and now we do these things. We didn't wear seatbelts, now we wear seatbelts because we know better. But we didn't know until we knew, until lots of people got hurt, or a lot of creation went wrong, a lot of climate changed. And so, these are that's why we call them growing pains, because pain, I think, always happens when you're growing. I don't know that it's possible to grow without pain, and I think that's why we always kind of hold those things together. But where was I going? I was actually going somewhere with that, but
it'll come back.
Maybe it'll come back in a minute.
It's a hard time. One of the reasons I am drawn to the work that reconnects, going back to that for a minute, is Joanna Macy as a Buddhist, who perhaps informs her way of thinking. Again, this idea of holistic well-being, and within us as humans, that requires us to be able to look at both what gives us joy and what causes suffering, and to be able to acknowledge that. I mean, metaphorically, if you had a plumbing issue under your sink and you didn't want to look at what the problem was because you're like, oh well, if I admit the pipe is broken, I'm just being negative. You know what I mean? Well, no, you've got to actually diagnose the problem. You've got to go in and analyze what's happening and understand what that is to be able to fix it. Yeah. So if you apply that to human affairs, we're in a really difficult space right now. There's competing, conflicting belief systems, some of which have enormous potential to bring healing and sustenance and perhaps even flourishing. But the dominant system, this industrialized growth system that we are in, you talked about seatbelts, and my mind immediately goes to, did we ever really need cars? My mind goes to this the scientific revolution that spawned capitalism, that spawned this profit-seeking, profit-maximizing paradigm that dominates our Western civilization and now dominates our global civilization. And it's a juggernaut. It's you said, we're embedded in it, right? And there's no getting away. You can't escape it. You could try. Yeah. You can go live in the woods somewhere. Right. Cut yourself off from society. You can go live in an eco-village. There's ways that you can reduce your footprint as an individual. But you can't get away from the plastic, which you address in your book, or the proliferation of things that are so devastating to our living ecology. How do we stop those? How do we say, whoa, we need a break? Yeah. We need to pull the brake on this. Totally. We got to stop this train, man.
Yeah, and at what point are we willing, more importantly, are the people with the quote-unquote power, the legislators and senators, what point are they willing to pull a brake for anything? And I was just listening to the radio this morning, and they were covering they were talking about communities who were impacted when they installed, the highways and the interstates.
Yeah.
And how that was in many cities targeted toward, already underserved Black and brown communities, and how
Right.
it just killed these communities. And just think about these like just huge, and what happened after we got interstates, right? And the machine just got bigger, and you got all the franchises on the side of the road in these little towns. And the irony is, I feel like most people, when they think about, even though I would say you and I probably don't believe in the great America that people are always trying to get back to, but when people do talk about that quote unquote great America and what they're thinking of, I think, at least the people I know, they're thinking about small town America,
right.
when there was sort of these Mayberry type, romantic, not that these things existed outside of other pain points that we don't talk about, and all the racial stuff that was going on. But what they're quote unquote thinking they're getting back to, if it ever existed, it existed prior to these interstate economics, of this industrialized thing that we'll turn around and say we support on the other end. Anyway, but I just thinking back to the sort of pain point thing, I feel like we're at a moment in history right now. When I think about it, I think about my kids. I think about when they're like, I just had this image in my head of when they're just like in the floor with like Legos poured out. And I feel like every kid has done this when they try to make the quote tallest tower in the world, and they just stack one singular Lego block on top of the next singular Lego block, and they go all the way as high as they can, trying to get, at this point you're like, well, we're only going 8 feet because that's the ceiling. And if they even make it past my head height, it's usually like it's gonna topple. It's going to topple. So, like, there's this, it's a really fun game. How high can we go? How high can we go? And as the parent, you're like, well, I know how this ends,
Right.
And
Engineering 101.
and it ends in tears. It ends in screams. It ends in crying, and I feel like that's kind of where, like, okay, well, there's our ceiling. Anyway, but so I love, like, you've kind of discovered my book, and I've discovered your music. And so that just makes me so happy, because one of the things I feel like I've said for so long is that what the quote-unquote environmental movement needs is more jams and more music and more, like, and that artistry. And I say that, but I also know that, like, that's always existed. It's just lesser known. It's not like it hasn't been around. But so I was really happy to discover your work as a musician and an artist. So rewinding a little bit, is that sort of work what brought you from New Jersey originally to Nashville, or?
Yes. Yeah. So I had gotten a music ed degree and was teaching in New Jersey, but I'd been playing in clubs and coffee houses. I always loved to write. In fact, I was in a band at 16 that opened for REM.
No way.
At the time, they were up and coming. And we opened for them at a place called the Fountain Casino in New Jersey. Where was that? Aberdeen? Fountain Casino. Yeah, I think it was Aberdeen.
Oh,
and I
cool.
So after our set, when REM came on, at one point I know I got up on the stage and kissed Michael Stipe right up.
No way.
That was crazy. And I was loving what they were doing. And
Heck freaking yeah.
One of those moments I remember. It was a band called No Heroes that I was in. I was the lead singer. And we were writing some songs together, myself and the drummer, John Hone, and
oh, that's so cool. Is this still in existence? Can people find this music somewhere?
Gosh, I don't think so. I used to have some demos that I kept for a long time, and God, I can't even find that stuff anymore.
Oh, that's gold.
But I would hitchhike to Westfield, New Jersey to rehearse with these guys. And then I was writing, and I learned how to play guitar. on a very basic level. I would never call myself a natural gifted guitar player, but I learned how to translate what was in my head, somewhat adequately.
Okay, yeah.
With bar chords and things onto the guitar, and that's when so in my 20s, I guess, I was able to play in some coffee houses and stuff, and then I got my music ed degree. But the writer in me, I had been influenced by like Joni Mitchell, but also like Pink Floyd and Ella Fitzgerald. My tastes and my influences were all over the map.
Mm.
But as a writer, I always felt this need, to express through music, and it drove me to want to learn. And so by the time I moved down, I'd already made an album. Or two, gosh, I'm trying to remember. And I had attended NSAI Song Camp, right? Nashville Songwriters Association International, and they were headquartered down in Nashville. And so, and I brought some demos around to some publishers, and I was so excited by the vibe down here at the time, and it felt so open. Like you could literally go on Music Row and walk into a publisher's office and say, hey, can I play you guys a song? And somebody would be there and say yes,
Wow. So,
I mean, it's changed a lot now, and I don't know that luxury would be afforded a writer to just be able to walk in off the street and do that. But, and I'm sure it had changed dramatically by the time I came. But anyway, it was still open enough and exciting, and there was I met a lot of writers during that week or so that I was here for the NSAI Song Camp, and so I decided right then and there to move down.
Oh, that's so cool.
And pursue the songwriting. I told the principal at the school where I was teaching music, it was a K through 8 private school, and I loved the kids and I loved teaching, but I knew I had to follow this. And when I told her I was leaving, she's like, yay! And I was like, wait a minute. You're not supposed to cheer that I'm leaving. She's like, no, I'm happy that you're pursuing your dream. And so I did. I came down for music.
Yeah. So how did the eco meet the music? When did that occur?
So right at the time that I moved down, so it was it was the end of 2003.
Okay.
And actually, it was right. So John Kerry, remember, was running for president in 2004 against Bush in it would have been Bush's second term, and did become his second term. And I had just read a book from John Kerry and his wife, Teresa Hines Kerry, who was inheritor of the Hines estate,
Oh, wow.
Heinz Ketchup, and anyway. So, but they wrote this book called This Moment on Earth. And John, like Al Gore, I had read Earth in the Balance from Al Gore, that was written in 1987. That was before he published Inconvenient Truth and some of the other works that were so profoundly influential for a lot of people. But he had been a senator, and then of course he was vice president. But he had a profound influence on me. And then this book from John Kerry, he really brought forward some of the information that was starting to become mainstream about climate change that probably we had known for decades, but that wasn't mainstream, and he helped in that process, and it felt like a call to me. And also the issue of waste, like I came from New Jersey where they picked up your recycling every week, and then I moved to Tennessee and Nashville, and they're only picking recycling up like once a month. And I was raising a lot of concerns, and I started to get involved in that world, and I started to meet people through the Sierra Club and 350.org, which is Bill McKibben's organization that he founded. And other local, and then I at the same time got involved with Tennessee Alliance for Progress, that was working on a green jobs bill here in Tennessee, and Nashville Peace and Justice Center, and I met people that were part of the Cumberland Green Bioregional Council. So there's a lot of intersections between all these different groups, you know?
Yeah.
But it was sort of this really cool, progressive hippie community of people that were activists and that were really taking it to the street.
Yeah.
As the Doobie Brothers once said.
Yeah. Okay.
And both in terms of environmental issues that I was really learning a lot more about, and then also social justice issues that you know you were touching on earlier about this idea of this idyllic past, which is so embedded in a history of institutional racism, and you know, and we could go there, but anyway. So that became really important to me. And I started to write more toward that, because I wasn't that turned on by the country music that I was hearing. It felt really... And if this becomes part of a podcast, forgive me, country music. Oh my God. There's a lot of brilliant writers out there.
Yeah.
There's some wonderful country music.
Totally. Yeah.
But it was what I moved down here for, and yet I found myself being more drawn into this idea of activism and questioning the status quo, and using music, you know, like as Joni Mitchell had, who was so influential for me, to actually use your music to make a statement about that. Like that could be a vehicle for communicating messages.
Yeah.
And so I started to kind of gear my writing more towards that, like the Science and Climate March, or the, you know, the different things that I got involved with. And I found myself moving kind of away from this original dream that brought me here of, you know, getting a publishing deal and having commercial hits, because it felt very constrained. You were always writing to a certain demographic, and there were things you could say, but there were a lot of things you couldn't say, and you had to be politically correct, and, you know, you had to... And it had to be like wholesome, but it was wholesome in a way that was geared towards this very narrow demographic, you know? And so, so that shifted for me. That's where I stayed involved with the music, but it was a different community of musicians. It was like just a wider, I wouldn't say different, but a wider community of musicians that were doing different things with their music. And
Wow.
And that is kind of where I gravitated naturally. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I love that. That's really great. Yeah, that's really great. And I just feel like that's so much of what we're missing on so many fronts is, you know, because music takes us somewhere that books can't, and that so many of these other formats can't. And so it's the soul stuff, you know. And would you be willing to maybe share, maybe play a song or part of a song, and we could talk about it for a minute? And I don't know how much time you have, but
I would love to. I was looking earlier for a pick, and I'm like, oh my God, I might be okay. Sometimes I can.
Oh no, let's keep it raw.
Spontaneously
keeping it raw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, some tuning is required here. Okay, I'm just gonna... I've done some writing recently, but I've gone also through a period of not writing, not being as prolific with the writing as I used to, being consumed by other things. You know how that goes. Yeah. And also sometimes just literally being at a loss for words. Just not knowing, having so much emotional stuff, which music is good for channeling that. As you said, it reaches people on a different level. But anyway, it's been hard to find ways to actually write about some of this stuff because it's so close to home and it's so difficult.
Absolutely.
Okay, but the final word. Let me see if I can get through that.
Yeah, hit us with it.
Whoa, we might not share the same opinions about the way things ought to be. So many cultures and religions, so many visions of what it means to be free, but we all live under the same sky and look upon the very same stars. And I can't help but wonder why can't we accept each other just the way we are? We come from everywhere. We're all your sons and daughters, children of the world, crossing land and sea and borders to form a more perfect union here. The quest of humanity, our common destiny. One nation, one people, one family on this earth. And as Dr. King once said, love will have the final word. The final word. There's a lady in the harbor, and she holds her torch aflame for all who seek a better life, a chance to dream. You know it's shining just the same. But when our differences are used to tear us apart, well, tell me, what have we become? And if liberty and justice are not for all, then I say truly there for none. We come from everywhere. We're all your sons and daughters, the children of the world, crossing land and sea and borders to form a more perfect union here. The quest of humanity, our common destiny. One nation, one people, one family on this earth. And as Dr. King once said, love will have the final word. We don't need another treaty, another summit or debate, more expert opinions from political heavyweights. What we need is faith in each other. Come on, let's lift up our sisters and brothers. We come from everywhere. We're all your sons and daughters, and children of the world, crossing land and sea and borders to form a more perfect union here. The quest of humanity, our common destiny. One nation, one people, one family on this earth. And as Dr. King once said, love will have the final word. The final word. All right, I'll do the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, it's so good.
It's gonna be love. It's got to be love. No more hatred, no more violence. We've got to rise up and break the silence. We've got the right to live in peace and harmony and not be judged for who we love, who we're meant to be. The final word is gonna be love.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. Oh, what a gift. Sorry, I totally interjected there. Man, that's just, I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. Oh,
Thank
dude.
you.
So, yeah, give me a snippet on the inspiration for that one.
So, it was right after there was a shooting in that nightclub in Orlando. I guess it was called Pulse. And it was a gay nightclub. And I think it was like 30 people were slain, basically, and others injured. And it was one, as you know, in a series of mass shootings that are tragic and heartbreaking. And so I was trying to figure out a way to write about that, and about this idea that we shouldn't condemn people who aren't like us, you know, whether we're talking about gender identity, sexual orientation, religion, you know, cultural differences, race, obviously, all these things that, as we've been talking about, that separate us, or that this belief, this illusion of separation that we create around this idea of what's morally correct and morally incorrect, you know, judgment and condemnation. And Martin Luther King has this quote, and he says, I believe, okay, how does it go? I refuse to accept the premise that man is so tragically bound by the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daylight of brotherhood cannot become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word. And in a time when you're grieving collectively about these things that happen, you look for sources of comfort and inspiration. And I found that quote especially inspiring, and so I thought that's a really good focus for a song. You know, love will have the final word. Unconditional truth, unarmed truth, and unconditional love will have the final word. And so I created the song based on that quote, and then just kind of, you know, extrapolating out from there. And
that's awesome.
Love
that. Really great. Good job recalling the quote as well.
Thank you.
That's no small endeavor. Oh man. Hit me with another one if you have the time.
I do. As far as like environmental songs or earth songs, I have one that's real simple, but it's called Earth Mama.
Okay.
I kind of have it. I still have it on my website.
Okay.
I believe in sacred signs and intuitions. I believe heaven and hell are places in our own soul. If I can give my heart in love without condition, my suspicion is that's the closest thing to heaven I ever know. When it comes to money and material things, honey, I don't care, just let me sing. I'll find me a little piece of land somewhere where my friends can come. We'll be happy there, 'cause I'm a earth mama, a child of the sun. I wanna sit by a river and watch it run. I'm a hippie chick sister, guaranteed you won't find nobody gonna love you like me. I bow my head to the ones who were here before us, whose blood was shed in the fight for their own land. Their voices ring through the trees like a mighty chorus, reminding me all our deeds are gonna come back around again. That's why I'm a earth mama, child of the sun, just wanna live in peace, don't wanna hurt no one. A hippie chick sister, guaranteed you won't find nobody gonna love you like body to that sacred ground. If I should ever come back again someday, you know I still wouldn't have it any other way. I'd be an earth mama, child of the sun. I'd sit by a river, watch it run. I'd be a hippie chick sister, guaranteed you won't find nobody gonna love you like this. Earth mama, child of the sun, just wanna live in peace, don't wanna hurt no one. A hippie chick sister, guaranteed you won't find nobody gonna love you. Who's gonna love you? Gonna love you like me. Gonna love you like me. Gonna love you like me.
Oh man, that was so much fun.
Oh, thank you.
I'm like really resisting the urge to like go around the house to find something that's like a shaker. I feel like I need to be like participating over here. That's so good. And now I'm completely inspired for a whole nother song called Earth Daddy. That I'm now going to work on and let you know.
Oh man, that would be perfect.
Oh my gosh,
we need that, right?
That's so much fun.
We need the Earth Mamas and the Earth Daddies.
Need them all, man. That's what's up. I wonder if you would share the one that you did on Sunday, because I'd like to hear that one again if you'd be interested in.
Church of God, that's kind of my ultimate love song to the earth. And I have a lot of other songs, but in terms of, our conversation and this idea of kind of connecting with our deep ecological selves, right?
Yeah.
These are kind of the songs that speak to that. Okay, here we go. All right. Beside a river rushing by, I was lost in silent wonder, staring up from the grass into an endless sky. I was drifting with the clouds and the current, and I was one with everything. I knew right then what it meant to see forever. And I'd swear I heard a choir sing, and they sang, oh, this is the Church of God. Come all ye faithful, join together here in the Church of God. Breathe in the air, feel the creation everywhere. It's yours, it's mine, no space, no time, just heaven on earth, here in the Church of God. Boughs of evergreen for an altar, the call of a whippoorwill for our hymn. Oh, the earth is a sanctuary, her Bible written on each seed that's carried in the wind, and let us praise her endlessly with every breath, every step that we take, until there is no separation between our prayers and the world we create. And oh, then you'll understand that this is the Church of God. Come all ye faithful, join together here in the Church of God. Breathe in in the air, feel the creation everywhere. It's yours, it's mine, no space, no time, just heaven on earth, here in the church of God. And oh, it's a holy place, filled with mysteries and miracles and amazing grace. Yes, it is. Oh, this is the church of God. Come all ye faithful, join together here in the church of God. Breathe in the air, feel the creation everywhere. It's yours, it's mine, no space, no time, just heaven on earth, here in the church of God. This is the church of God. Breathe in the air. Oh, oh, the church of God.
Oh, dude, nailed it. That's just so cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm resisting the temptation to just give all this commentary on that because it just sits on its own, and yeah, absolutely that one has the feels for sure, and yeah, I mean, I was just reading that verse this morning, about all creation, like surrounding us and giving us that knowledge of the Creator, and that, and to me, that's like, man, what else can you say? And
Yeah.
That's what's
God
up.
manifest in the world, in creation.
Yeah, literally God's creation. Yeah. Oh man, thank you. Where can people find your music, if they want to follow you and hear more of this?
Well, I have a website. It's susanshann.com.
Okay. I'll definitely put that in the show notes.
SUSANSHANN.com. And I have several albums up there. I have lots and lots of songs that are not up there, and I wish were. The last album I made, the last time I actually was able to go into the studio and complete an album was in 2018, so it's been a while.
Okay.
But I've written a lot of songs since then. The stuff that I played today is older because we're talking about some specific things.
Sure, yeah.
So my hope, and I have a YouTube channel, and I've got those linked from my website, but actually my goal this year is to do a spiritual album.
Okay.
And it'll include a lot of songs that I have not put out there in the world, and need to, hopefully. Hopefully it will be received, warmly.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. Well, I look forward to gleaning from that whenever that happens. So, well, thank you for sharing.
Totally my pleasure. Yeah, I really enjoy talking to you today.
May you, friends, feel the sun warm on your face this summer. Experience a salty breeze, lay in the grass, catch a firefly, slide down an Appalachian waterfall, grow a tomato, watch some stars, all the things. If you want to follow me on through the summer, I'll be hanging out somewhat on Instagram and Substack. You'll find that below. All the love, grace and peace, friends.